Today, I'm talking to Shawn. Shawn was 457 pounds, suffering depression and hardly able to walk, and a type 2 diabetic. That was in April 2022. He's since found the carnivore diet, and we're going to find out how he's doing today. Just before we get started, do me a massive favor and smash the like button and also subscribe. Both of these things really help out my channel, and I am grateful for your support. Let's meet Shawn. So, Shawn, you told me that you were 457 pounds a year ago. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Wow. So, how did this all come about? How did you get to that point, and what happened with the carnivore diet?
Oh my goodness, it's such a long story, honestly. But if everywhere from I've been obese since I was a child. Stress at home, and different. My parents split up, those kind of things. Just life. But I was extremely unhealthy, and growing up. Um, then obviously I got married at a young age at 19. So
Mm.
I started my I was 19, my wife was 18. So I started you know basically just having that home life pretty early. So um, but I had already set up a lot of habits and stuff that were unhealthy. And I was going to school to get my degree, which was in science. I got a science degree, and I also have a degree in religious studies. And when I was going to school for the science degree, and I got emergency medicine basically, I was working as a EMT for a county agency right here at the house at the same time. So I would only have like one day a month off from school where I didn't have anywhere to be. Otherwise, I was at school full time, and I was working full time supporting the family and had kids and stuff. So it was fast food and eating at the gas station or just basically whatever I could pick up. And I just set so many bad habits. And being young, I didn't care about my weight at the time. Honestly, like most young people are, we're invincible. And so I set up a bunch of bad habits, and one thing led to the other. But after that, like I said, after the schooling, that was the absolute worst part. I made it through that time of school and work, burn out basically whenever I got out. But I started working as a paramedic, and about a year or two after that, working as a medic, my health had just. I had been a pre-diabetic since I was like 20 years old, and this is 2000, probably 19, right before COVID really kicked off real bad. Um, and my health was just down, down the gutter. I didn't eat right. Didn't Like I said, didn't think about stuff like that. And so to get to the absolute worst point that I was at overall, in 2019, I lost my job as a medic because I had gout. I had developed gout. I had high blood pressure. I mean, like I had just been put on blood pressure medication. It went up to like 200 over 160. So it was like stroke level. I basically went for a health screen one morning, and the nurse that was doing my health screen for my yearly insurance stuff said, I can't let you work today. And, and took me out of work, said, you got to go see a doctor and get some medication. You could have a stroke. And so, nevertheless, stuff like that all the time. But I had lost my job because my health had got really bad. And for 3 years, I just laid on the couch, depressed, overcome with not just the health, but just I had lost the stuff that I had put my life into work, my life work into, and the direction I was going in my life. And from going from bad health to lay on the couch for 3 years, from 2019 to 2022, basically, um, it just got worse and worse and worse. And whenever I started eating this way, I was 457 pounds. I was over 400 pounds before I lost my job as a medic. I was trying to help people, and on the job, over 400 pounds, just, lugging all that around and not taking care of myself and trying to put it out there. So, I mean, that's kind of how life, I guess, is the best way I could say it. Just unhealthy habits and living every day not thinking about myself and stuff like that. You get in this mind frame of give, give, give. I got this to do and I've got that to do, and it basically just led to unhealthy habits and overlooking my own condition.
Wow. That's that's quite a backstory. So, just help me understand a few of the details here. So, um, if you don't mind, can you tell me how old are you now?
I'm 40. I turned 40 January the 12th.
Right. Okay. And uh, you're 40 now. So, and you're still married?
I am. Me
Yeah.
and my wife will be married 21 years, July the 20th.
So you get married at like 19 years old,
Right,
and
2002.
so my head is just spinning thinking about you working trying to deal with emergencies at 400 pounds.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just
I
I
can
mean,
only
how was
imagine.
that for you?
I'll be honest with you. I don't. I looking back on the situation now, I have no earthly idea how I looked. Because when I got married in July the 20th of 2002, I weighed 280 pounds. I weigh less right now than I did then. I weigh less now than I did in ninth grade, um, but uh, like I said, I was always a chubby, overweight. I always suffered with obesity, but never over 400 pounds. Like I said, I was pre-diabetic. I was eating bad. I was eating on the go, and climbing up and down on the ambulance. Whenever we work 12-hour shifts. I don't know how it is a lot of other places. Some places have 24-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts, different levels. But our 911 service around where I'm at is, we had 12-hour shifts, and so I would work my 12 hours, and then I would go straight to school and have like a 12-hour clinical, rotation or classes that evening, or whatever it is. So I really just didn't have time to go sit down and have a decent meal or even really think about it. It was kind of like go, 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 and you just get in such a fast pace. But I really didn't have time to think about the condition of my health. I don't even remember a lot of the stuff that was going on because it was so fast paced, high stress. And they design medic school for your paramedics and EMTs that are learning to deal with those situations. I think they set that up in a way that puts you under more pressure just to see if you can handle it, because that's what you're going to see oftentimes in the street.
Mm.
And I just adapted. I adapted that way of life all the time because I was so immersed in what I was in. I mean, I can't blame it all on just the time period where I was in EMS or nothing like that. At the end of the day, the buck stops with me. It was decisions that I was making. My discipline was poor. My mental health, I was not looking out for. The choices that I was making were just not that good. And that's how it led. But it was tough. You know, I tell people, look whenever I'm, mentoring with people or talking with people about the diet or just sharing it with people, I tell them, I couldn't even take a shower without being out of breath. I would go literally from my couch to the shower and start, just doing your basic hygiene stuff, trying to take a shower or even, whatever. And I would just be so out of breath and just breathing, like sucking for air, like I had run a race. But when you get to that point in your life, oftentimes I feel like you don't know how you got there because it's in such incremental steps over a long amount of time that nobody wants to end up that way.
Mm,
Nobody would make the choice to end up in that position if they could look at the whole picture and say, here's your options. Nobody's choosing that option. So,
mm,
everything, a conglomeration of it all kind of just led to that, I suppose. Bad decisions.
mm. Wow. And you said you weigh less now than you did in the ninth grade.
I do,
So,
yeah. I played football in ninth grade for the high school, and I weighed 235 pounds. I remember one of the times when we had like a weigh-in thing in the gym, and I weighed 235, and I weigh 225 now. So,
yeah.
yeah, that's you got 10 pounds on it there.
So just to be clear there, like you said 225 now, so you've lost more than 200 pounds
I
in the
lost.
space of a year.
That's correct. I was 457 April the 17th of 2022, and I weighed excuse me, four 225 um, on April the 17th of 2023. So in
Wow.
12 months, it's
That's
it's unbelievable.
amazing.
When I walk by the mirror, I'm like, I have to take a double take sometimes because I mean, honestly, I talk about it a lot, and as I explained to you, I started the YouTube talking about it, and I get so tired of talking, about my weight, but it's such an unbelievable thing, and I love being able to share that, So people, there's so many people have told me like, well, that's what I need, that's the condition that I'm in, and I'm losing that hope, and that's where I was at. So I
Hmm.
just love, sharing that, not so much to be like on me because there's no way that I could have planned that. I didn't say, well, I'm going to lose 200 pounds this year. I just had gotten to the point where I was hopeless. I was grasping for whatever I could grasp to. And when I came across this way of eating and had it explained to me, at first I thought it was crazy. And then when I finally grabbed a hold of it, it was like, man, this is amazing. And it just took over, and it was phenomenal. It just worked so well.
Yeah. So when you think about it, you're talking about how like the weight just kind of comes on, you're doing this stressful job, you're working 12 hours a day, the weight just kind of comes on, right? And it's just those small daily habits of, skip a meal here or, just grab whatever it is I can eat now and that kind of thing because I don't know when I'm going to get a call next or whatever it happens to be, right?
Right.
Um, so it's all those small things that compound to the result, right? And it's exactly the same the reverse. It's all the compounding good things that you're doing that get the weight off or get you more healthy, right?
Absolutely. Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
so how you mentioned your blood pressure was extremely high before. How's your blood pressure now?
It's running great. I was able to come off of one of my medications, the HCTZ that I was on. I was taking amlodipine. From that incident there when it was so high, the doctor put me on amlodipine, lisinopril, and HCTZ. And it just happened to be that I found out from watching a video of a doctor talking. He said HCTZ was included in a list of medications that can make your blood sugar go up and your testosterone go down. And I just happen to have those issues. I was like, well, I've just been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and my testosterone, even at 39 years old, was like 122. So I was like, man, that's crazy low from even for my age. Um, so I was like, Doc, what can I come off this medication here because I'm having these symptoms and this medication is adding to the problem and my blood pressure is starting to stabilize a little. And he took me off some of my medication for at first because we talked about it. But my blood pressure, the last time I had a health screen about 2 weeks ago where they just did like my blood pressure and pulse and check those things. And it was like 106 over 68.
Oh wow.
And that's just on the lisinopril and amlodipine. And the doctor's lowering my dose on those as well, to bring me off of them.
You're still on some medications at the moment for your blood pressure. What other kind of medications are you still on? Have you been able to reduce a lot of them, like regards to say diabetes and stuff?
Well, I am only on. I take a testosterone injection just because my body hasn't started producing that as much yet. It is raised up. My with the injection that my doctor gave me, my testosterone runs anywhere from 5 to 800 is where we try to keep the range now. I take that injection, and I take amlodipine, a small dose of amlodipine, and a small dose of lisinopril now. But that's the only medications that I'm on. I'm not taking any more medications. I've completely reversed type 2 diabetes. I have completely reversed non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Um, like I said, the depression, com- for the most part. I mean, there's days where certain things happen, and you struggle with it like everybody else does, but it's not that debilitating, keep you for days and weeks kind of thing. For the most part, I'll get out of the house because I had gotten to a point for a long time where I would not come out of the house. I wanted to stay on. I wouldn't go to family events. I wouldn't. I was not seen in public. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to be out that way. The depression just was, and health was just debilitating to me. So as health wise though, it's cured so many things. It's sleep apnea. I've never been diagnosed with sleep apnea by a doctor just because I refused to go do a sleep study. But my brother had a CPAP machine, and when I was at my heaviest, I would stop breathing. And my brother actually told me, he said, "Hey man, they diagnosed me with sleep apnea, gave me this machine, but I'm not wearing it and I'm not going to use it." And come to find out they had diagnosed him wrong, and he had fixed the issue. So he gives me the machine. I start using the machine, and there is very fortunately that I did, because I found out through that machine that I would stop breathing like 12 and 13 times an hour every night when I go to sleep. And
Wow.
I had no earthly idea. I knew when I woke up I would have headaches and stuff, but I didn't know that I was not breathing like that, and obviously it's sleep apnea. And since I've lost, all this weight, the machine even will register that I don't stop breathing anymore at night. And my airway stays open at night, on its own. So, like I said, there's so
Nice.
many things that I even tried to write some down in anticipation for sharing it, but there's so many details. There's no way we could cover every little thing. But it's very transformational as far as, because I was so super skeptical whenever we came into this, uh, the carnivore diet. I had all the misconceptions or ideas that I'm sure a lot of people have when they do come into this way of eating.
Mm.
But the experience really proves the point, I guess.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So like how did you get into it? Like had you been trying all different diets all your life, or like how did you fall into carnivore in April last year?
Oh yeah, so I I have tried about every single diet that you can imagine. From eating salads and just trying to starve myself to health, and like everybody else believing that I can go out and I can walk for 10 miles and eat a salad and that's enough. I've tried everything. I even went to we had the bariatric clinic, and I'd go get the little, I call them speed pills. I don't know what they're called, but the little, I think it's Fettermine. pills that they'll give you to aid with weight loss, and I had tried it all. But during that time where I was depressed and just laying on the couch, one of the few things that I would do is listen to podcasts and watch YouTube because I didn't have to leave the couch to do it, I guess, you know. And one day I was listening to Joe Rogan on a podcast, and I cannot remember for the life of me. I need to go back and find it. He interviewed somebody who was talking about the carnivore diet. And, you know, I had a medical background, so I'm not completely ignorant whenever it comes to how the body works and stuff like that. And I was like, that does not work like that. But if it does, if it works as good as whoever this is representing it says it does, I need to find out about it because I've never heard about this thing. Let's go find out about this diet. So I type in the computer, you know, YouTube carnivore diet because I want to be informed and hear what somebody else has to say about it. And Dr. Ken Berry pops up. And I said, huh. So I start listening to him. And there again, like, you know, probably so many do, I'm like, this guy, there's no way it works like that. This guy has got to be awful. What is he trying to sell?
Mm.
And all these different things, you know? And I just kept listening and I kept listening. And I'm like, you know, that makes a lot of sense. And I haven't heard him try to sell something yet, you know? And one thing led to another. And then I started searching out other people and seeing what they had to say. And it kind of lined up the same way. And in October of 2021, I said, I'm going to do this for 30 days. I told my wife, and I had made all the promises, you know, I've done this diet and this exercise plan or whatever. But I said, I'm going to try this for 30 days. So I did. And it was a very dirty version of carnivore at the time, but it was all meat, you know. I would make, like, get the tuna packets and mix in the mayonnaise and put just a dab of honey in it, you know. So it still was saturated with some things that probably might throw you off. But I was so unhealthy and so undisciplined at the time, I guess you could say, that even that dirty version of carnivore, I was like, I told my wife, I said, this is like I feel like a different person. But after that 30 days was up, here we are getting ready to go into Christmas and New Year's and Thanksgiving and Valentine's Day and my birthday and all those things. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to make it through this time period eating that way. And I did my 30 days and I do like it, but I'm not sure it's all the time thing. And so I started eating my regular diet through the holidays. And I said that, you know, I knew in my mind and I knew how I felt that it was a huge difference in how I felt. But I was like, can I commit to doing this? Because I love sub sandwiches and I love different, you know, the different foods. Or I say love now. I try to not use love and food in connection with each other anymore. But that's at the time, that's how it was. And so we got through that little time period. And right before Easter, obviously in April, we had a family dinner planned for a Saturday, and I would make the excuse, I'm going to start this day, I'm going to do it tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. And finally, on April the 17th, it was a Tuesday. I told my wife, I said, I'm not starting tomorrow, I'm starting today. And April the 17th, 2022 was the day that I grabbed a hold of it.
Mm.
And it changed my life, honestly. She said, my wife says, well, what are you going to do about the dinner? I said, I guess I'm just not going to eat because today's the day, you know. I guess I had just gotten to that point to where I'd had enough, you know.
Mm.
I knew something had to change. I didn't care whether I lived or didn't live at that point, you know. I was just to the point to where something had to change either way at that point, you know.
Mm.
And I grabbed a hold of this way of eating, and it radically transformed me from then on. I said, if this works, you know, I grabbed a hold of it in faith and held on, you know.
And how did so? I mean, that's pretty extreme. I mean, even for me, I would feel like that's pretty extreme, right?
Oh yeah,
I mean that is. kind of how I had this catalyst moment, and like I did kind of just say one day, that's it. But I mean, just in the moment like that, just saying without any other push that
Hmm.
was any different to the previous day, it's quite a big thing to say, right, that's it, I'm just stopping now. So did you
Right.
find it difficult at first?
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, it was definitely difficult, and I mean, for the first, I would say probably the first 2 or 3 weeks, it was the same as any other diet that I had ever been on, as far as the temptation to come off of it, to make the choice to come off of it. But I had made a commitment to stick to this and do this. And not just that, but I had taken, and this is what I tell everybody my experience is, and try to urge them to do the same. I tried to take steps to make it harder for me to step off of the path, I guess you would say, to make it as inconvenient to cheat as I can. And my wife helped me also at the time. So, my wife and my children don't eat this way.
Uh-huh.
And so they were still eating the goodies and, whatever, but they wouldn't do it around me. They would, hide the food or keep an eye on me. And some people say it's your wife nagging, she's keeping me straight and helping me because she wants me around, and I'm thankful that she did, during that time period. But it wasn't very much because I think I was so far into that unhealthy depression, anxiety, just existence mode that I knew inside of me that something had to change. So I knew it, but I wouldn't take that step, and it just kept pushing at me and pushing at me and pushing at me. And that was the day, and that determination that had built up inside of me and the longing to change, coupled with, obviously, the temptation to cheat. When that first temptation did come, it didn't take very much nagging or whatever you want to call it from my wife for me to be like, yeah, you're right. I'm definitely going to keep doing this. I feel so good. I don't want to jeopardize it. And I mean, don't there have been slips along the way. There have been times where I've ate things that were not on carnivore. I mean, I don't, I'd be lying if I did said that there wasn't. But at the same time, I've tried to be very much intentional about, if I do eat something that's off plan, I will never have more than just like one meal's worth of anything, so that you can eat it right here, right now, but there's not leftovers for tomorrow. There's not enough for 2 or 3 days, that kind of thing. I make it very intentional to get back on track, because slipping and falling is definitely not the thing that's going to cause you to fail this way of eating. It's the slipping and falling and slipping further and falling every day off the path. Nobody's perfect at all. We're all going to slip and fall. We're all going to fail at one aspect or another, but it's not about the failing. It's about the getting back on track that makes this way successful.
Mhm.
And I see it, a lot of times with people that are like, I failed. I'm like, no, you didn't fail. You're still breathing and you're talking to me right now. So you messed up. Okay, get back after it.
Yeah. The get back on the wagon part is the important part. It's, the failure is actually just a learning experience, provided it's not learning in the wrong direction, which is, oh, I did all right, feel, falling off the wagon. I'm going to keep falling off the wagon.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because that's mistakes I've made in the past when I've been keto.
Somebody, oh sorry, somebody said, I can't remember who it was in the group. They were like, I fell off the wagon, drug the wagon in the road into the woods, and set the wagon on fire. I said I can understand that because I've had those moments myself to where, I'm like, God, I failed again. And it's like, don't get caught up. Don't let the failure be don't keep making a mistake just because you made one.
Mhm. Yeah, it's important to just yeah, I made a mistake. Okay, accept it, and then just try and go, well, I'm gonna try my best not to make that mistake again. And if you do,
Mhm.
don't smash yourself over the head about it. Just again, keep going.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's the thing, man. And even now, like I try to like even in the beginning, what started off in the beginning, even though it's easier for me to stay on plan now than it was whenever I first started out. There's still times when there's temptations to, to eat off plan or to just be like, oh, who cares, whatever, the family's doing this, it's not going to hurt, whatever. But I mean, it's the mentality that's changed in the relationship. I don't think we can emphasize enough that we have to replace. I have to replace those habits that I used to have in my and change. I tell people all the time the transformation is in your mind. If you can get your mind changed in your relationship, the way that you view food to change, your body will follow your mind. It
Mm,
will happen. You transform your mind, the body is the easy part to fix with the whole situation. It's the
mm,
mind that plays the tricks because the mind knows your mind knows you better than anything else. And it knows what your weaknesses are, and your mind will deceive you and exploit your weaknesses. And it knows the secrets about how to trick you into something. And we're oftentimes, I know it's cliche to even say it, but we're our own worst enemy. And the reason why I believe wholeheartedly that we're not successful is because we're not at battle with, so to speak, with food or other people or whatever. We're at battle with ourselves. So it's impossible to defeat ourselves whenever we're the ones doing it to ourselves. If
mm.
that makes any sense.
Mm. Yeah, we're literally I mean we're in a battle against ourselves because our brain is basically operating under the assumption that um we're still kind of living in a world where there are no processed foods and there's no high fructose corn syrup and all this kind
Yeah,
of thing, right?
that's
But
right.
there is those things now, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I believe we're designed to eat a certain way, and what the things that we have made common as fuel for our bodies to continue the process of living, we've made it about so many things that it's not designed to eat. But so many of the processed foods and the fruits and even some of the a lot of the vegetables are it's designed or whatever is changed in such a way from their original forms that even they're not natural anymore, And we're being told one thing is, these things are healthy for us, and they're absolutely not. But you gotta really investigate that and look at the source of a lot of those things because what you put inside of you, it will affect you. Even as far as like this diet, I've had a lot of people tell me, I've been trying this to eat this way, but nothing's changing. I'm like, keep doing it because what you put inside of you will have an effect on your body. Now, I'm not saying that everybody can lose 234 pounds in a year. I mean, I didn't even think I could do that. I'm not saying that you can reverse every single issue that is wrong, and I couldn't complain if I wasn't able to heal 100% of what's going on in my life because I've spent years and years and years developing this problem, uh, and it's only been a little over a year now, but I've fixed a lot of the issues. But what you put in will help your quality of life going forward, and what can be fixed to the extent that it can be fixed will be fixed. Whatever's not permanently damaged. The main thing is don't damage it any further and don't make the problem worse.
I mean, honestly, I think the what's happened in your situation and in most people that have been on carnivore for a good amount of time, it's testament to your body's ability to heal itself, right? So, I mean,
Oh,
all that damage that you did was done over time, but it happened, um, it did happen very, very slowly. right?
Hmm.
Like it's over a period of, 30 or, 30, 40 years. Um, but you can reverse that damage in a year,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
and the
your
thing
body can
too.
heal itself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, as I was stating earlier, my A1C was like right at 7, and the last time I had it checked, it was 5.3. My blood pressure on 3 medications never got below like 148 over 92, right in that range. And on 2 medications and lower doses now, it's 106 over 68.
Mm.
And what else is there? The liver healing. Uh, there's just all the numbers for me in a short amount of time. Completely just it's like whenever I started feeding my body the right thing, it's like my body was like, "Thank you," and it started repairing itself.
Now I can
And
get to
so,
work.
oh yeah, and absolutely, and I had no idea that type 2 diabetes could be healed. I've worked in the medical. I was in EMS for 12 years, and my family, my mom and my grandmother were both worked in the medical field. I had no idea that type 2 diabetes could be reversed. You're not,
Mm.
oftentimes your doctors and even a lot of nutritionists aren't trained in both areas of this. They may know how the body works and be great at that, but not know anything about nutrition. Or they may be trained in nutrition but not have any idea about how the body works. So
Mm.
whenever you start learning how those two things work together, and it's explained to you how the process works with insulin is the big key. When you eat stuff off plan, your insulin goes up and it blocks your body's ability to use the fat. And so it's impossible to use your body fat when your insulin's high. So eating carnivore and the meat, not only is it nutritious, but it doesn't spike your insulin, blood sugar, and insulin. So you can access your body can actually use the fat, and it's running off the fat. Things like that, and how that process works together. Um, when you grab a hold of that, it's transformational because you're like, well, that
Mm.
makes sense. You
Yeah.
know, so many people with diabetes coming to realize, well, I don't need to eat fruits and vegetables all the time because those things are spiking my blood sugar. Let me get something that's going to not spike it, and it's going to level my sugar levels out. But I mean, it's just education, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't pay the bills of pharmaceutical companies for people to be educated. So,
100%.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So regarding you mentioned the plan a few times. So what is your plan? What's your day of eating generally look like?
A day of eating right now. So the last 7 months, I eat beef butter. Well, excuse me. Since June of last year, I've eaten BBBE, the beef butter bacon and eggs. I've kind of moved away from the bacon a lot. I know that's like blasphemy or whatever to say. I've lost my taste for bacon a lot. I will have it on occasion. It's always an option. But for the most part, what I do is I make deviled eggs, but I'll take the yolks and I'll mix hot water and butter and chop them up and like to the consistency that I like and pipe them back in and put salt on top of it. And I'll have about four eggs around 10 o'clock, and then I eat a ribeye steak with butter on top and salt. And that's literally my diet every day.
Wow, nice. And sorry, that's at what time is that like just one meal a day or are you doing
No,
two
no, no.
meals a day?
I do the 2 meals. I eat about 10 o'clock. The eggs are usually, 9 or 10 o'clock. I try to give it 2 hours between the time that I wake up and the time that I eat at the earliest. And so usually, between 9 and 10 o'clock, it'll be about the time where I have the eggs. And then, within the next 4 hours, 5 hours, something like that. It started off. I'll have the steak with the butter and salt and whatever. and I try not to eat at the end of the day at least 4 hours before I'm going to go to bed. It started as like I did intermittent fasting, which was critical, and I had to plan it out at first. But I'm so satiated all the time now that I don't track it. I've never really tracked a whole lot other than just plotting my weight loss to keep me, just to have some kind of focus. But I don't really think about food at all. Hardly. I found what works, and it works so well that I really just don't care to change it because it's so easy. And like I'll go because it's just eggs, butter, salt, and ribeye steaks. I can swing by the butcher shop and I'll buy the whole rib roast, the whole chunk of rib, and have like 15 steaks, and that'll last me, almost right at 2 weeks. And then my wife will pick up eggs and butter at the store and make sure we got salt. I will drink the Topo Chico sparkling waters or carbonated waters. Other than regular water, that's the only other thing I'll drink. I will drink coffee. I do drink some coffee black. But that's a day for me now. I started out the first 2 months just eating any kind of carnivore. As long as it was meat, that's what I ate. And then after that first 2 months, we had a challenge in our Facebook carnivore group, and it was the BBBE challenge. And I was like, and once I started on that BBBE challenge in June of 22, I felt so good, and the energy level that I had was so great that I never wanted to change. And the video on my channel of me in the red shirt, that was the first time in 3 years, that little short clip or what it is, not 30 seconds or however long, I posted that last year just as never thinking anybody in the world would ever see that thing. And if I'd have known, I probably wouldn't have posted it. But that's the first time in 3 years that I had gotten out of the house and went walking up outside on the street. And I, made that for the challenge that we were doing in the group. And I just happened to post it on Facebook.
And the at that point, sorry, when did you post that? So you started April. When was that posted? Because I did see that video, but
I started April the 17th, 2022, and that video I posted was of July. I posted it in September, but I took the video. It was July I think it was the second or the third. We started the challenge. The challenge for July was to get out and walk for at least 20, 30 minutes a day, just be active outside, and make a video or take a picture of us outside. And that was our challenge, just basically to get everybody engaged of how good it is to get outside and get some sunlight and try to be active in just a little way. There was no walking technical requirement, I guess, but we knew how much it would help us all to get out. And I hadn't done that in 3 years. But like I said, I had went to my mom's in another state for the weekend, and had just got home like on the second or third day of July. And so that's when I was actually starting, and I just took my phone with me, and I stuck the phone up and just on the fly I made that little video, and was going to post it to the group. And then after, by September, when I did post that video, I had lost well over 100 pounds. And I was like, that's pretty inspirational. And I know how easy it is for us to forget where we started at. And the longer we go through that process, we try to forget the depression, and we forget how we felt when we started. And that video for me, because I wouldn't let very many people take pictures of me. I have some pictures, from when I was at my biggest, and my most unhealthy, but I absolutely despised having my picture taken or being seen. It was embarrassing, And that video is one of the few videos I've been on in my life. But I think it's an embarrassing video because I look at myself and I'm like, I can't believe I let myself get this way. And at the same time, I can watch that video and it almost brings me to tears even today, because I remember when I see that video, I can look into my own eyes and the hurt and the pain and everything balled up in myself at that time. I could see that dissipating in that video, because that was the life change. That from that day to this day, it's like a new creation, you know.
Mm.
And
I
and
mean,
it's a
it's amazing. You look like a different person in that video.
oh yeah, I guess I
Yeah.
could take that off inside, you know. Um, yeah, it's amazing, man. Like I said, I think it's good for us to have markers and remember that, because that motivation, I can't say, like in the video I even said it, motivation follows action. And it took me a long time to understand that, because I would always tell my wife, I need to go out and do something. I need to get out of this house. I have no motivation. And I'd lay back down. And I'd lay back down, or I'd sit around. But sometimes, man, if you'll take that first step, you'd realize, well, man, I can do this. And after that walking video, I was sore from walking. I hadn't done it very much. But after I did it one day, I'm like, well, I wonder if I can do 2 laps tomorrow. I kind of challenged myself, you know, and I started reading some books. What is it? David Goggins wrote a book, You Can't Hurt Me, and somebody suggested it to me. And he's got a lot of language in that book, and whatever for those that care, about that. But the concept that I got from him in that book. He's like, man, we're so easy on ourselves so many times, and we're we're ample on forgiving ourselves. And I'm not saying don't forgive yourself. I'm not saying be overbearing on yourself, but sometimes we got to just be honest with ourselves and just say, hey, look, it's not okay if I just give up this easy, or if it's not okay if I just do whatever. Whenever you do what you want to do, you become a slave to your own desires, you know? And sometimes we got to get tough with ourselves and be like, deal with ourselves on a straightforward, honest level, because nobody's going to push us harder than we push ourselves, if that makes sense,
Mm.
man,
Yeah.
and that's what I see in that video, man. And for me, if I ever start acting like a little baby or whatever, I can look at that video, man, and it kind of reminds me, man, you better make good decisions, because you could be back like that tomorrow, And that's what I tell myself, to just keep pushing.
Yeah, that's you make me a little bit teary, sorry. Yeah,
Mm,
it's important to remember that yeah, motivation is the most important thing. Motivation does drive the action. And sorry, action does drive the motivation. Let me change that. Let me say that the other way
you
around.
got it. That's right.
Action does drive the motivation. That's the problem that a lot of people have. Actually, they want to be motivated into action, and it doesn't work that way. You need to do the action first, and the results give you the motivation, or the
Absolutely.
just the feeling of accomplishment of doing the action gives you the motivation to keep going.
Oh, 100%.
Mm.
And I mean, there's a couple of concepts in there, man. Realizing that the community that I was involved in, you know, the community as Carnivore as a whole, just meeting you and the interaction with you and others in this community, man. It's been like, we're not all on the same exact journey, but we're all on the journey together. And we don't all have to agree, and we don't all have to hold to the same ideas and views and all those different things. But what we have is our common interest, that we can bond together and say, look, we may disagree on something that we don't know about, and that's all fine and well. But this right here, we can agree on, and I'm part of your community, and I want to see you do well, and I'm encouraging you for your health, because you know we need health. That's one of the biggest problems in our society, no matter what country in the world you're in. you know Understanding health and the quality of life, that we have, and it has such a big impact. And for us to join, I mean, you're all the way around the world from where I'm at, but we have a common bond, and getting
Mm,
the message out and sharing that hope with people because I've experienced what hopelessness and depression and not wanting to continue. At first, it was minute by minute, and I'm holding on to anything, just to
mm,
try to find that little bit of hope. And finding that, man, I want anybody who's out there that sees that to know that you feel like right now inside yourself that you have no hope. There's no way to fix how you're doing. You've tried it all, you've done it all, and there's nothing you can do. I'm here to tell you I was there and there is something you can do. And there is hope for you. And don't ever give up. Don't ever stop trying. Don't ever lose the value of who you are inside. Your value is not connected to the outside look or your health. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you're valuable regardless of what you look like and how you feel. And that's one of the things that I had to work on before I could do anything with the outside. And that's the kind of like I told you before, the message that I want people to hear. Don't give up on that hope because you keep pushing forward. You stick to the plan. This right here, eating what we were designed to eat, will change you. It will change your health. It will change your it does something. It is. I just tell people sometimes it's magical. you know how
yeah.
how it works so well.
But look, your message is very important for people to hear. Um, it's really important that people understand, like your doctor's always going to prescribe medications for you. Your doctor's always going to do what they think they need to do, whether it's just because it's easier to prescribe medication rather than talk about nutrition, or whether it's because they don't know, or whether it's just that's what they know to fix you. Um, the doctor's always going to help you with the prescription or something, right? But at the
Oh,
end of the day, you have to just think, is this the way I want to live?
oh yeah.
And yeah.
Oh, I was having a discussion. I think it was last night or yesterday with somebody on Facebook, and I was like, I understand that that's what your doctor told you to do, and I'm not telling you to do it. And I'm not telling you not to do it. I am not a doctor. What I am telling you is, do not blindly take a doctor who gets paid by your visit continuously coming in here. I'm not saying he's not looking out for your best interest. I'm just saying don't take anybody's word for your health. Take it
Mm,
into your hands, investigate the issue, and learn for yourself. And learn, you don't have to go to medical school and learn all the big words, or whatever, but investigate what you're doing and don't take a medication just because your doctor's like, here's a medication, take this, or whatever. Find out what it's for, find out why you're taking it, and then if you want to take it, that's your business, that's your choice, and between you and your doctor, and you decide.
mm,
But oftentimes I think if we get better, hospitals and doctors are only there for emergencies, and when something out of our control happens, they don't have that reoccurring paycheck coming in because of you know and I hate trying to paint it like that, but I mean that's the God's honest truth. Uh,
yeah.
that's why I'll tell you how far I went with it. I contacted Dr. Barry. I'm in his little group, private group or whatever, and I sent him a message just telling him thank you because he was honest. He could make a lot more money being a doctor in an ER, running a practice somewhere. I don't know what he makes on YouTube or doing all the things that he does now, but I'm sure it probably isn't as much as he could make writing prescriptions for people that
Mm,
don't need them. And I just told him, thanks, man. I appreciate you being honest, an honest doctor, and breaking this down and describing it
mm,
because you're the first person that gave me hope and showed me a way out of where I was at. And I just wanted to, tell you thank you. Um, and I try to live by the principle now that help people help people. people that have been changed help change people, and that's kind of what we're here doing.
Yeah.
Getting the message out. We have been transformed by something, and I may not be able to put it into $1,000 words, or describe it better than anybody else, but the least I can do is do my part to say, hey, look, here's a situation, and this can change you too. I have had my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, my mother, my brother are all eating this way. And my brother was before, he was eating like paleo. But my mom, my sister-in-law, and my brother-in-law, none of them were, and they're all eating this way after watching my journey. And they're like, "Look, it's transformed you in such a way that I want to try it." And they're doing really well, and they're seeing health benefits and stuff like that. So, you know,
That's awesome. That is
I
awesome.
keep pushing it on I pushing it on my immediate, my wife and my kids, and my daughter's tried it a little bit here and there, but um, if I could do something to impact somebody else's health and give them that quality of life, especially family, but anybody else, man, that's worth it in my book.
Mm, definitely. Yeah. Um, Shawn, thank you so much for your time today. How can people reach out to you? How can you've
Um,
got a YouTube and
oh yeah, the intentional carnivore is what I'm going by. Being intentional about our choices, being intentional about the mind transformation. So the intentional carnivore, I'm trying to get that up and going, and got a few videos on there. I also moderate in Carnivore Quest community Facebook group. So any one of those places, uh, you can find me right there.
awesome. Shawn, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And of course, I'll link to your YouTube. I'll link to your YouTube in the show notes.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you so much. And anything I can do for you, just shoot me a message, or let me know. And I appreciate the time and getting to meet you, my friend.
Guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video.